So in this video, we're going to be building a fully working mobile app from scratch. This is a mobile app that will allow you to keep track of your expenses. So you can come in here and actually add expenses. You could add your income, and it will give you sort of a graph over time of your different expenses as you kind of build them up. So I figured this is the start of the year. So, everybody wants to plan and budget and etc. So this app will allow you to plan and budget. If you're like me and you have a spouse and you need to kind of coordinate sort of like income expenses for the home, this app is for you. So in this video, we're going to go through the entire details on how to build it, how I actually put it together, and some of the things that I'm thinking about for it. And then you could also scan receipts. So it has basically the option to put in receipts. That part is not built out in this video, but in the subsequent video, you will see this portion built out. So in part 2 of this video. So with that, if you want to learn how to actually vibe code an app, we use Google Stitch in this particular case. So we came into Google Stitch and we did all of the design work in Google Stitch. So we have a fully working sort of prototype of the layout and the concept for the app. From there, we actually transferred it over to AI Studio, where we were able to kind of quickly get it sort of like mocked up and actually implemented properly from a coding standpoint. And then we were able to deploy it using Cloud. So if this is the type of stuff that you're into and you want to learn how to build a proper, actual, efficient app using Cloudflare D1, all the backend technologies, and this video is to you. And if you get any value from it, please click on the subscribe button below or click on the like button if you've already subscribed to the channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Dwayne and I focus on vibe coding production grade applications at scale. If this is something you're into and you're looking for somebody to help you with this type of process, then my link is in the bio to my school community where you could join and I could give you more tailored custom help on vibe coding an application. With that, enjoy the video. I'll see you in another one. It feels good to be back. I've been off of the internet for a couple of days now. I've been sick. My voice is still recovering, by the way. I want to build an actual budget financial app. And the goal is going to be that we can, it's 2026. So we're going to basically just kind of plan out our budgeting for the year. And I figured why not build an actual app to do it? There's obviously 100 different budget apps on the internet already. So we're not doing any favors by building another one. But in the spirit of 2026 and it being a new year, I figured it's a good opportunity to build some sort of planner that will help us to kind of plan things out for the new year. And it's going to be a free app. We're going to go from start to finish. We're going to do the whole thing live, no strings attached. So first thing we want to do is say, I'd like to build a mobile app first that will focus on budgeting and focus on budget planning using some of the criteria. We're going to try to build it in 3 different phases. Phase 1 is we're going to do sort of the UX design portion of it. And phase 2 is we're going to do the backend. And then we're going to do the front end. We're going to deploy it all to Cloudflare. Use some of this following details as a criteria. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to try to get some of the foundational stuff in terms of a PRD document up and running. The goal is to set up a outline so that the vibe coding application that we're building can work correctly. Right now, we're going to go with a dashboard. We're going to go with a monthly drill down. We're going to give you the ability to add transactions. We're going to give you the ability to add reoccurring rules. And then we're going to have all the categories, right? And the UX, we're going to keep it smooth, streamlined, every single thing, action and immediate, cards, graph, yes, drill durable. Phase 2, we're going to do the backend, data model, JSON export, etc. Data model for transactions, P&L engine. We're going to do Cloudflare. We're going to use a D1 database on the back end. We're going to use workers. We're going to use R2 for storing sort of the receipts, etc. Durable objects, and if we want real-time collaboration, which is not going to happen in this particular video. Phase 3, we're going to put together all that foundation. So first of all, we're going to copy all of this statement here. And what I want you to do, I'm going to use, so I'm still back and forth on the tools to use, but we got 2 different directions that we could use. We're going to try both of them. We're going to use Lovable. I like Lovable. I've been a sweet spot for Lovable recently. So I'm going to tell it to do this. And then we're going to do the same thing in Google Stitch. Why Google Stitch? Because Google Stitch will allow me to kind of focus on the design aspect of things first. So new features, Thinking Pro. Okay, so, and we're going to do mobile friendly first. So I don't want to use Flash. I want to use Thinking with Pro. And what we're doing here is we're basically just allowing the AI to just kind of come up with whatever it thinks would be necessary based on the information that we've given it so far. And we're going to use that as sort of a base point. We're going to use that as sort of entry level to kind of get things going. So let's see what Google Stitch kind of comes up with, and we'll go from there. Join. Yeah, so like I said, my Instagram is, I don't know how to work it properly. I'm still new to all of this. So, but okay, right. So while this is cooking, we're using Google Sketch. We're going to see what that comes up with. We'll also come prepare in Lovable. We'll see what it comes up with for the backend. In the meantime, what are you working on today? Hey, good question. We're working on a budgeting app, mobile budgeting app. Good to see you, Mr. Codename Zulu, and welcome. It's been a while. Happy New Year's, by the way. And hopefully you had some time with your family. I think the last time I talked to you, you were putting up your Christmas tree or something like that. So welcome. Oh, this looks good. So yeah, we're building a budgeting app. We're building a personal budgeting app that you can use to do your own personal finances, etc. And yeah, it's going to help you to sort of calculate sort of your profit and loss. And there's tons of budgeting app obviously on the internet. So we're not going to win any awards by building one of these. But one of the frustrating things that I've had personally, my experience with budgeting app is that I've used quite a few budgeting apps in the past. And one of the biggest frustrations that I run into is that I get really comfortable with it. The very first one that I ever used was Mint, if you guys know Mint. And then books bought them and then they just shut them down. And then I use Pocket and then I use YNAB and it all seems to be what ended up happening, they start out great, then they get bought over in a merger and acquisition, or they just get acqui-hire or something, and then the app, there's no development, there's no nothing. And so I kind of got burned by using budgeting apps so many times that now, honestly, I don't care to put my information in another budgeting app. I'm not talking about like banking and portfolio apps and that kind of stuff. That's a different conversation. I'm talking about like household budgeting, like between you and like your partner, that kind of stuff. So that's what we're building here. We're building a sort of a personal financing budgeting app for you and your partner to kind of just keep track of your overall income within your household. That's it. It's just very localized to the house in itself. Now let me see what Lovable is still going. And then we're going to make a quick pulse decision as to which one is the best thing. Now, interestingly enough, this is actually putting in a calculator, or is it a calculator? Not a calculator, just basically a punch pad so you can put the numbers in, save transaction, put in the category. One of the things I want to be able to do is basically just be able to snap receipts really fast, right? So on this here, let's say, can you improve the UI so we can be able to snap receipts really fast? Just take a picture and just have it store the receipts of the images. So that's something that I definitely want to have included, because as we all know, you go online, you buy something, and then you turn to throw away the receipts or you just put it in the car and you never actually look at it again. So let's see. I've been working on, okay, here we go. It came back up. So let me see if I could size it properly here so we could look at it. There we go. Perfect. Okay, I got your comments better now. I've been working with Open Code CLI myself, a few apps and tools. How do you like it? How do you like Open Code tool? You know what? I haven't been playing around with so many different platforms, but I'm actually curious to know how you actually been your experience with it. Okay, so while that's coming, okay, so here we got a plus button. 2 more windows are coming in. This looks horrible. Really? Come on, Lovable. You normally give me something better than this. Yeah, this does not look good. This is very, very basic. Very basic. Not impressed. And is that because I ran out of credits, maybe? Not sure. Or maybe they're just giving me the cheaper app built-in because I'm not paying for it. Anyway, this definitely looks better. I think we can all agree on that. Yeah, Google Stitch has definitely become my go-to for designing screens. No question about it. It's pretty nice. Excellent for people who are on budget, don't have funds to work with Claude CLI. Yeah, no, I hear you. Claude is pretty pricey. I should check it out. Maybe I'll do a video on that one. I'll check it out for sure because I'm definitely looking for alternatives. But I gotta be honest, man. Like, Claude today is so good right now that it's hard to find it. It's to the point where it's like, you know what? Just take my money. We're just going to build on it. Okay, we're going to go with this. This is our receipt. So scan a receipt. I like it. I don't know where that button is going to go, but I like it. I like the function. I like the income, I like the expense. Month of December. Okay, I like the monthly breakdown. That's cool too. Year trajectory. I like that. Income, expenses, net profit, new transaction. Good. Okay, let's run with this. So one of the cool things that Google Stitch now have is I can now take this entire thing and export it to their build platform. Now I just got to figure out how to share. Yeah, so if we go to share. So now you can export it, and then I want all AI Studio. So basically it should be, the UI for this is not the best, but here we're going to do export AI Studio, and that basically puts all of them. We're going to put it over to AI Studio so that AI Studio can basically build it. It's pretty excellent. Those are on a budget, I hear you. Yeah, 100% I agree with you on the cloud thing. Even if you stop access using their API, open code, you're starting to see there was competition. Oh, interesting. There's definitely some wars going on for sure in this business, and I think it's just going to continue for a while until like we have some clear winners and losers. But right now it's like everybody's fighting market share. So yeah, it's going to be rough out there for a bit, but yeah, no, I hear you on the pricing, no question. Okay, so build me an app with screens that look like this. You can hot link images from the HTML. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go build. So this is the one thing that I really like with the Google playbook right now, is that I can go from Google Stitch, which is very, very focused on the design language. It's still experimental because it's Google and they reserve the right to kill anything at any given time. But I can go from this to Google AI Studio, taking those images and then turning it into actual production code, which is pretty cool. So that's a good thing. And while this is coming up, let's highlight a couple things about the community just to talk about it for a bit. So good news is we're up to 73 members in total now in the community. And while I like this, I actually got a few people to come respond to. I haven't actually responded to a few of you guys, so I'm going to get back to you in a bit, probably today for sure. I've been sick this week, so the energy level has been completely shot. This is a really interesting question that Ramon asked about seeking advice about multi-tenant database SaaS in a NoSQL database. This is a more advanced question, and I wanted to kind of do it justice by properly answering it, a couple of diagrams, etc., just to make sure it's clear, not just for him, but for other people. But in a nutshell, the way I would think about this is with NoSQL, you want to be dealing with things like configuration, settings, user profile, like all the stuff that is very static, store state in a class, if you will, right? I think that's how I would be thinking about it. So I would shove all that stuff there, and any single thing transactional where I'm doing calculations, average, that kind of stuff, I want to try to keep it in a relational database for the efficiency and the speed and obviously the normalization of the data. So that's kind of the two classes I would keep it in, and I would have sort of both worlds. That's how I've been building all of my systems. There are some people that try to do transactional relation type stuff inside of a NoSQL world. It can work, but in my experience, it starts to bog down when you start to get to real heavy load if you don't sort of partition the data like aggressively ahead of time to kind of scale with the load. And that just becomes a real large challenge. And even if you partition it, when you want to run reports on top of that data, you still run into a problem. Synapse. There we go. Azure Synapse. There we go. This is their new database layer type of thing that does analytical stuff on top of these large workloads that kind of goes across this partition problem, right? Like it's supposed to address this issue, but now you're into like big money, right? You're into like proper money for this kind of stuff. Yeah, but anyway, I'm going to get back to this question. I'm going to answer it in a lot more detail and just kind of killing time here while I kind of talk about stuff here, but nice. So allow this app, sure. And can we change this to mobile? See what it looks like. Yeah, okay. Love this. Definitely like this. Like this is really cool. Being able to see the trends up and down. What is this next and previous arrow for? Not sure. This is giving me an indication that we're down. What is the plus sign for? So I can add an income. I can add an expense. That's great. I could choose a category. Yeah, I'm liking this so far. Transactions. So these are all the different transactions that came in. Perfect. And then these are receipts that I basically snapped, and I can click on scan now. This scan now button is, so there's a problem with the scan now button, but you know what? There's a problem with the scan now button. It's we're currently embedded in one of the images. It should be independent, floating in its own section. But this, you know what? This actually looks really good. It's compelling, right? Like I got a transaction section, I got an overview section. I could see my yearly trajectory of income versus expense. The only thing I'm not in, so income for the year, this is year to date, or is this expense? This is expense to date. So, interesting. You know what would be cool? I want to be able to see not just my income for the year and know whether it's up or down. I want to be able to see my total income and total expense for the year to figure out whether I'm up or down. So I'm going to just add that, figure out whether I'm actually up or down, not just knowing whether my income income is up or down for the comparison from last year. What is the total amount of income and what is the total amount of expense based on the projections for the year to figure out whether I'm up or down in the year. And I also want to have a space for savings and investments so that I could add those from the income. I could say, okay, I want to allocate X amount for savings and I want to allocate X amount for investments. Okay, we're going to wait on that. We're going to let this run and we're going to keep moving forward. 100% agree with you, Claude. Stop. All right. So what do we have? Yeah, so Google Stitch, we're going to figure out how to do the Instagram thing because, yeah, live streaming is just totally messed up on that. See if I do it like that. See if that helps. All right, so Google Studio is almost ready. Did it fix that problem? Yes, it did. And I'm going to ask it to basically just add. I think the previous and next is about so you could see the year. You could group things by the year. Maybe that's why this previous and next button there. Maybe transactions, October, income, expenses, groceries, net profit. Yeah, see like this, it has income versus expenses for October, but I also want to do that for the year as well too. Actually, technically, yeah, the monthly breakdown is here, but it doesn't show the year. Okay, we're going to get that in and then we're going to move on to the next section, which is basically building the backend infrastructure. And okay, so let's see what we got here. All right, so while that's loading, while that's coming in, I think we got most of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, I need to log in on my Cloudflare here just to get, we're going to go set up a backend for everything. So at least we can start working on the backend while we're going to download the front end and get a deployment going. Okay, we're in Cloudflare and what we're going to do is go and we're going to pick up Cloudflare Worker. So we're going to create a brand new two apps actually. We're going to create a front end and a back end. So let's just do it right away. Actually, you know what? We'll do it differently. We're going to create it from this app itself. So what we'll do is we'll pull this down first. We'll set it up on GitHub. Let's just do that right now. And then from there, we're going to pull it again. Be easier. It'll be the easiest way to do it. Get new. Let's call it a, what are we calling it? A Fordly. Let's call it a Fordly. DLY app. Okay. So this is Ford app and it's going to be, yes, public. We're going to keep it private for now until we could get it all properly set up. Create repository. Okay, so we got that going. Okay, we're going to go set up a new project. AI projects, new folder, FFORD, FFORDLY, Affordly dash, and then we're going to click on new. Okay, all right, so we're going to do Git here for that. And while that's coming through, let's go back to Cloudflare. Let's go back to, okay, so we got our new app. Let's see what it actually did. Okay, so right, total income, this, total expense, 45. Okay, so it's saying I'm up by 2023 net results. Okay, so that's fine. That's what I'm looking for, right? I want to know, am I up or down for the year based on, things that are happening, investment, savings, yada, yada, yada. I want to know if I'm up for the down or down for the year overall, build in on unallocated cash, savings, investments. Perfect. Okay, I think that's a good foundation to start with, right? What do you guys think? Yeah, I think that's good. All right. Let's go. So step number 2, and I actually want to get this all the way to a mobile, like a real native mobile app. And when I say native, it's like basically like a PWA is going to be a shell wrapped around in like a Flutter shell or something like that. But let's see if we can, oh, interesting. You know what? Let me just download it because it's going to create a new thing and I don't want it to do that. I just want to basically dump it in. So we're going to put that.
From Dwayne's MacBook Pro.
Stop. Okay, so we're going to dump this guy, paste. Okay, and then let's just tell it to run this project. Can you run my project? Make sure every single thing is running correctly. Use BUN. Okay, so we got our local project running. We got Bun going. What else do we need here? Yeah, I'm happy with this design. This design actually works really well. It's simple, straightforward, allows you to keep track of your overview, your finances. The question is, if I were to put this out as a real app, if anybody would actually use it without doing any kind of real marketing, family, friends, that sort of deal. People are very sensitive when it comes to finances, so most people don't want to put their information in an app like this, but we'll see. So it's allow terminal, yes. So I haven't actually been in Visual Studio probably for about a month now. That's how much I just kind of disappeared over the holiday. Well, probably not a month, not a full month, but maybe definitely 3 to 4 weeks, almost a month. Yeah, because I think the last live stream that I did was before the 50, around the 15th, I want to say. Losing track now. Okay, let's see. All right, so we got our mobile app. What does this sign do? This adds expenses, add income, transactions. Yeah, this is good. I'm happy with this. Okay, so what I need now is I need the data structure for this app. So how do we do this? Can you get me the data structure for this app for all the moving parts as JSON? Okay, we'll do it here just so we can get some speed. And while that's happening, we're going to do the deployment to Cloudflare. So we're going to kill this. Okay, so set upstream main, right? Yeah, why do I have a permission problem here? Okay, so bottom line is where we are right now is that we're just going to get a brand new app deployed over to Cloudflare, the front end at least. So at least we have thing, and then we're going to start working on the back end for this. Main origin gish, successful, fantastic. All right, let's go back to our GitHub, to repositories, for the app, and let's just try and get this over to Clear right. So come across to Cloudflare, connect with GitHub, choose my personal directory, click on forward that app, Wrangler deploy, put a dash instead, try to deploy, see what happens. Now, generally speaking, this is where you get an error. I do have inside my build how to solve this problem. We'll see if it actually happens, because there was a couple of build errors between Cloudflare and sort of like the platforms. So let's see, failed. Yeah, that's over the top. Yeah, so the entry point, we're missing assets, yada, yada, yada. Let's just copy this, just make sure that they have all the pieces here. And then we're going to push again. And while that's happening, I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to go to my classroom. I'm going to go to Cloud Essentials 101. I'm going to go to automated deployments, and I'm just going to copy this troubleshooting section, which I have that outlines all of the problems that you run into with this entire thing. So basically from here all the way up, it's a whole troubleshooting section. So this troubleshooting should get you through pretty much any single thing that has to do with this deployment problem that you'll run into. So is that, did I do a push already? All right, so that's going to go up. I'm going to get a Wrangler file uploaded. So we don't need Lovable anymore. Don't need Stitch anymore. Or maybe we'll need Stitch again. ChatGPT we don't need for now. Yeah, so I definitely ran into quite a few problems trying to deploy React application on Cloudflare. And one of the biggest problems is because Cloudflare has some configuration issues, and it just has a whole bunch of stuff that was just kind of misaligned with the way how React is being configured by some of the AI vendors. This video in my classroom under Cloudflare 101 Essentials, automating your deployments, and it says 30 minutes, and that's because it took me 30 minutes to do, and I wanted to kind of keep the raw video to show the problem that you will run into in the event that it comes up in the future. However, basically the good news is that you could just copy the troubleshooting section so that the AI doesn't have to deal with this problem, and it'll just figure it out based on my trial and error before, and then you don't have to necessarily deal with this pain of dealing with this sort of like nightmare mess. So if I go to the project now and I go to deployments, there we go. Last build, 1 minute ago. Yeah, so there we go. So successfully deployed, right? So basically, just to make sure that we're on the same page here. So if you are running into any issues, literally just come in here, copy this entire troubleshooting section that has all of the outline of every single thing. I should make that more clear in this video, like where it says troubleshooting. So trouble here, yeah, troubleshooting pages. Literally just copy that entire section here, because I went through all the details, all the problems. There was just a ton of issues, and just paste it inside of there, and then let the AI just rip, and it has enough information to figure out how to actually do the deployment properly. And then from there, it should be good to go. And then Cloudflare deployment should work. And now we could come here and test it by going to workers dev here, open up a new tab, bam, there we go, got a deployment. So with this in mind, now we could actually focus on the back end, because we have the front end kind of working somewhat. So what we're going to do is we're going to convert this to a mono repo. So actually I want to do this first. Let me just put a GitHub Copilot instructions file. So generate an instructions file, because it's so at least it knows about the project a little bit. And I should tell it about, I should give it some of the ChatGPT information, so at least it knows about what the goals is or the project, etc. You say, I'm glad that you're making a connection there, because yes, like I said, I've been through this before. So what I'm trying to do is document all this stuff properly so that you could just literally just copy the code copy the prompt basically. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to use that to build out the GitHub Copilot instructions file, so it's a little easier. All right, so moving on. Okay, so we got to go Copilot instructions file. What we don't have is a task list. Let's just do that right away. So first of all, we're going to say to improve we're just going to create a new session. Although you don't need to do as many create new sessions as before, but this is just my habit from before. So I'm going to say, can you enhance the GitHub Copilot instructions file with the following information? Also create a docs folder and create a feature list and a task list, and then link the GitHub Copilot instructions to those reference documents. Right. So this way we at least have some structure. We got our docs details. We have our GitHub Copilot instructions file, and we just want to make sure that they're just kind of linked together. And just to be clear here, the GitHub Copilot instructions file is kind of localized to the GitHub Copilot implementation of this. However, every other agent will use agents MD. So that's one way, that's an alternative to the GitHub Copilot instructions file. I can do that. If I rename this to agents MD, it would work perfectly fine. Or in Claude's case, it's Claude.md. Okay, so exact same thing. Just a reminder for those who don't, or those people that don't know, they're the same thing. It's just basically what is the main entry point for the AI to figure out the structure of the application without having to then read all of the different pages all the time, which just adds to your overall token usage. So this way we got a Copilot instructions file that has all the details. It's going to work out all the things that it needs. It's going to put down a docs folder with all the information that I got from ChatGPT, and so it doesn't have to keep creating the same thing over and over. So there's that. Okay, so while that's happening, let's see what else we got. And yeah, just a quick plug in the school community. My next thing I'm working on, I'm a little behind. I'm very behind, actually, if I'm being honest. I'm working on the 7-day challenge, and this one is kind of a big deal because I really want to build an actual thing and launch it, and that's what this is going to be about. I want to show the actual steps to build and launch. So far we've just been building, but I want to get to a place where we're actually launching. I created this app called Baldin, B-A-L-D, baldinsoon.com. This is my AI joke. I'm like, if AI is solving all the problems in the world, then why not just build an application that helps solve balding, which I'm suffering from. So with that, I built this app. I literally own this domain name, baldinsoon.com, and it has a bunch of people featured before and after that AI has solved. It's really good, and it's affordable comparison to cloud. So yeah, there's that. You get to use all the different models too, which is also a thing. This is what my AI thing, and I'm actually building this out because it's a really good application in the sense that when it's finished, you're going to be able to take a picture, upload, snap a picture of your bald, upload it, and it's going to give you a rating of how severe your balding is. And based off of that, it'll put you up in the rankings so that you can think. And the good news about building this application here is I get to use, for example, the waiting list will be live. So that's going to be use Cloudflare durable objects, and it's going to be in real time, have a counter, and it's going to show a demonstration of how you could potentially get thousands of users to sign up and manage at scale. So that's why I'm building it out, and I'm actually taking a little bit more time to do it. But we're going to actually launch this. We're going to launch this like it's a real product in the real world and actually see if people actually sign up for it. So that's what I'm building out in this 7-day course. Building a landing page, building the actual backend, building the community, finding the community, and then basically teaching you how to actually get that launched. So stay tuned for that. I got the outline for it, but I actually didn't actually post the content as yet. Let's see what we got. So we got our app here. Let's see what we got in the background. We got our docs folder. We got our feature list. We got our task list. And we just got to make sure that put in the GitHub Copilot instructions file to always update the task list whenever you complete the task. Therefore, we can keep track of all the things that are needed to be done. So just so at least we make sure that we're just kind of finalizing the connection between those three. So, okay, so we've done this before. We've done this 100 times over, but there's still new people coming on. So I want to make sure that every time we're sort of like refining this whole process of just building an app from scratch, getting it up, launching it. Let me see, done. I've added workflow rules. Perfect. Okay, great. Okay, so now that we have that, what we're going to do is we're going to check that in. I'll manually check it in because I'm feeling like working today. So let's just go here and then click on this guy and click on commit, click on sync. Perfect. Okay. So with that out of the way, let's get to the better stuff now. So what we're going to do is we're going to convert this to a mono. Can you convert this to a mono repo? Clearly name the folder frontend and backend. On the backend, we'll have an API will be the backend for the frontend. And we're also going to need a JSON sort of schema for all the different data points on the application. Allow you commit and went back to the system. Allow you started to commit then went back to the system and see. Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, why bother? The AI is doing a way better job than everybody else. So if you can't beat them, join them. Okay. So yes, 100%. But let's just face it, right? Like the AI writes better commit documentation than you can. It does a better job analyzing the code and actually like properly thinking it. So why are we fighting this, right? Just let the AI do its thing, man. Your job is just to guide it at this particular point. Thanks for joining, by the way. You're a new face, Mr. I was almost going to say Michael Jordan, but this is my dyslexia here. So it's, let me see if I get that right. Mike Carey, C-A-C-A, yes, and Johnson. Okay, Mike Carey and Johnson. Okay, maybe that's what I got dyslexia. So every single thing is a blur in my brain. So I apologize if I get you wrong, but welcome to the club. So let's see what we got here. Micah, there we go. Micah, perfect. Welcome, Micah. Okay, so front end, back end. Yes. So what are we doing here? Or why are we doing this? Number one is I found my car. Yes, got it. The reason why we're doing this is because what we want to do is we want to actually make a mono repo. And this is the best thing that I found personally that is just be a game changer for me. In fact, I'm just going to highlight this with one of my like legit real projects and not like a toy project, which is kind of technically what we're building right now. But, it's a real project, but it's not like my thing. So what I've done is this. So this is a real project. This project is approaching just under 1 million lines of code. There's a lot of moving parts. So it's not just front end and back end. There's an API folder. There's an apps folder. There's build, clients, database, docs, packages. It kind of goes on and on. MonoRepo, huge game changer from the rooftops. Yes, 100%. Like it just makes so much sense, especially in the AI world, that you have these mono repos. I wasn't a big fan of them for a really long time. For one big reason, when I had a lot of developers, I do have a startup. We had about 13 people that were sort of like developers that were kind of doing things. And one of the biggest problems that I personally had was I found that when I was given the developers like access to all of the code base is that they would just kind of get confused on what they need to be focused on. This was a problem. I'm not saying that this happens with all developers. I'm just saying with my developers that I had, which maybe that tells you a bit about the developers. But anyway, I digress. So the point is that I found that it was just overwhelming. And that was because we just had a lot of stuff going on. For this reason, I've always been a fan of isolating projects just to the core, to the team that it needs to access to it. And if you got 13 developers, not a big team, but it's decent size enough where there could be some overlaps and stuff like that. So you kind of have to really segregate the teams. And so for this reason, I was a big fan of isolated repos. The other reason was that if you got a disgruntled employee, somebody's not happy with you, which happens, right? It's just the nature of life, that they won't ever have all of your code base. And so that was also a thing, right? Like, sure, they could walk away with, I don't know, the API backend, but they don't have the front or something like that, right? It's just a way of protecting yourself as a startup. However, fast forward to the world of AI, this idea of separating the code based on permissions and this and that, it just became problematic. And so after tons of trial and error, I came to the conclusion that monorepo is by far the best thing that you can do in order to keep the central core idea of your applications and then keep the documentation, but also keep the reference. So as an example, with this application on the API backend, we have containers, right, that we're dealing with. So I got a couple containers. I got functions, which are Azure functions. Some of them are net functions and some of them are like C, and then some of them are Node.js backend, right? So that's a thing. I got workers, which is Cloudflare workers, right? And that's also a thing. I have on the app side, there's just tons of different apps all together, all with their own stuff. One of the reasons why I've had apps separate in their own single thing is because I'm also noticing that when the application gets too large, you get too much context into the AI models, and that also creates a problem. That's changing, but this is the early days. So, this stuff is still fluid. And so my philosophy has been to kind of set up the applications, and when they get to a certain size, sort of like section them off by just creating a brand new app and sticking it in the same app. So by creating essentially iframes. And let me see if I can give you guys a good example of that. So for example, let's see here. So this is an example of, oops, I can't pull over here. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so this is an example of my actual startup SnapSuite. And this calendar here is a complete iframe within the application, right? It's its own independent thing, talking to the same backend and all that kind of stuff, the APIs, but it's its own independent from the main application. And so I've been using that a way to also segregate the apps, but also creating monorepo, sharing the same backend infrastructure, that kind of stuff. So let's see here. So yeah, monorepo is a huge game changer. Sorry, I'm giving up. Monorepo, huge game changer. Got that one. Yeah, the world of AI has become a game changer in terms of context prompting engineer. Agreed. And all the patterns in the monorepo for the agents. That's correct. Yes, 100%. Yeah. So it's literally, we're just basically sort of like shifting our code base, the way that we think about development just for the AI. And so, I'm sure that's going to come with its own pros and cons in the future, which we'll deal with it in the future. Same, I have this for a page where I wanted to add interactive app embedded rather than direct. Yes, it's just a way to go. I think that's the thing. And it's, sadly, based on your statement here, there's a lot of people that kind of dismiss embedding apps within apps. Like it's almost like frowned upon in a way, right? And I know why. And I think it's because honestly, it's been done in the past, but it's been done poorly in the past. So where it feels like two completely separate apps, the apps are not talking to each other. You have this sort of like disconnected process for the user. That's not what we're talking about here. From the user standpoint, it's seamless. It's one app, even though they're connected with two different sort of domain namespace, isolated across boundaries, etc. And the good news for that is that if one section of the app crashed, there's still another part of the app that could still, stay up or whatever. So I found really good, interesting use case for doing this sort of embedded approach. And frankly, I think it's the way to go. And then of recent, I was watching a podcast and I was wondering about Microsoft Azure. And it turns out that they actually do this for their actual application because Azure is a really large, complex sort of infrastructure. And it turns out that that's basically how, let me see if I could. So this is not my main account here, but this is just an account that I have. But as an example, this side panel would be like one thing. And then this panel here would be like another app in itself. And then when you click into this would be like another app. And so they've just kind of just broken things down into really like basically each one of these side panel here, when you click through it, links to basically a completely different app with a completely different team. And obviously they're sharing the same UI and all that kind of stuff. So this is not the best example because normally Azure has these blades they kind of go into, but it's a really good example of how to do this at scale. And it's literally just iframes all over the place. Like it's the whole thing is iframes. So anyway, if anybody tells you that that's not a really good approach, then, you could point to Microsoft and be like, hey, those guys are doing it. And then they'll say, Microsoft is not a good example. So that's besides the point. Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate that comment because it's a really good point. So we got our front end, we got our back end, got our get it started, got all this stuff, node modules. Right. So we got a transaction, we got a reoccurring, we got a thing. The only thing I want to make sure here is that I want to make sure that the backend, so we got a routes, categories. So I actually want to JSON category input. So where's this go to? Schema. Affordly schema. Where's that? Okay, why do I not see a schema folder here? At Affordly schema. Okay, hang on a second. I don't know why I'm going blind or something. No, I don't think I am. I think it's source. Oh, packages. Oh, interesting. Summary. Okay. So we'll see if this works. So I'm going to tell it not to really, because it's trying to do a sort of a, let me see if we'll try this and see if it works. I'm not certain if this is going to work the way, because you see here, we got a packages, schema, here, this backend. This here is linked to Affordly, which doesn't make much sense. So I'm questioning this line here, but let's just see what we got here. So it appears that you're linking the schema in a packages folder, which is outside of the backend folder. Is that going to be a problem for deployment? Because Cloudflare doesn't necessarily handle monorepo properly. So should we have every single thing contained under the backend sort of folder? Because we don't need it on the front end per se, at least at this particular point. Yeah, there's still some issues with Cloudflare and the monorepo, at least from my testing and experimenting. And they have some limitations which is why I don't use them to handle the monorepo deployments, because you could only have up to 5 monorepos, at least the last I checked, in their system. Come on. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about this thinking is that it spends a little bit too much time thinking. It's like you could probably just search and get me the answer right away, but Stack Overflow. Come on. So Cloudflare does support monorepo, but there are a few practical constraints and a few limitations depending on the work. So one page project, one root directory, output, blah, blah, project count. So pages has a soft limit. Okay, so this is pages. We're not dealing with pages anymore, multi-repo worker in one. You can connect the same monorepo to each worker and then set the worker root directory in the Wrangler. So clean monorepo setup with this /web/admin/ Yeah, okay, so we don't use pages anymore with Cloudflare, so just give me all the Activate documentation, just focus on workers, let me know if I could do this properly. Still focusing on pages, which is a whole thing by itself, and this year has been sort of a very rough transition with Cloudflare when it comes to pages. Are you guys using Cloudflare? I got 4 people inside of here. Are you guys using Cloudflare? Put a 1 in the chat if you are, put a 0 if you're not, and if you're not, what are you using? Curious. While I wait for all this AI stuff to get generated. The connected Cloudflare workers can have issues with monorepo setup, especially with workspace packages. Yeah, so we're not going to do the whole workspace packages thing because it just gets into weird territory that I don't care to deal with on a live stream. I want to try to provide as much value as possible, so we're just going to push through some of the details. But let me know if you guys are, who's using Cloudflare. I tried to look up a activate context in Cloudflare worker monorepo and not seeing any single thing featured. Blah, monorepo. How do you, so Wrangler Cloudflare, JSON C, Eves, since. Can you do this properly? Fully Cloudflare. Wow, fantastic. Maybe we should get you to come do a lesson here using their AI workers also. Oh, okay. So we're going to definitely be doing some stuff with this one here, the AI workers. We haven't done much on Livestream with it, but if you're interested in sharing some of the work that you're doing, then it would be cool to kind of see what you're actually doing with Cloudflare workers. Yeah, it would actually be cool because I have a couple of things that I want to do with AI workers, which is mostly around real-time voice and real-time. I got some crazy ideas that I have in mind for it based on some of the projects that I'm working on. I just haven't actually got around to actually going really, really in depth with it, but that's kind of cool to know that you're doing that. Yeah, real limitations. You still can't connect workers separately, separate projects, even though they're repo. So this was sort of the problem here. So anyway, we're not going to get into all that because it's just, there's some real problems with this, with the implementation. So we'll just avoid all of that. Backend, source, routes, categories, recurrent, submit. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to deploy the backend. Actually, this project would be a perfect example. And what are you using for auth, Micah? What's your go-to provider? Is it basic auth, or are you using an enterprise solution, auth 0, work? A lot of people have been asking me to do basic auth authenticate tutorials, and I haven't actually gotten around to it as yet. Can you deploy the backend and using this name and for a worker? And then once we get the backend, let's start hooking up the front end to connect to the API so we could actually submit data. We also need to create a D1 database to store the records. And I'm on Sonnet still. To be honest with you, I'm even falling back. I haven't been truly using Opus. I don't know the difference really between Opus 4 and Sonnet 4.5. Interestingly enough, Sonnet obviously is more expensive, so that's a thing. And then Haiku is 0.33, so a little bit less of a model than this guy. So this is the big gun right now. And Sonnet 4 and 4.5. Are you guys using any of the GPT models? Controlled in through IP. Yeah. Cloudflare allows you to do that pretty easy. So I get that. If you go here and then you do this, Cloudflare access, if you turn that on, it'll just quickly just put it in behind an OTP, one-time password, one-time passcode type of thing, or hook it up to your actual provider, email or whatever. Any single thing under 50 users is fine. And the way that I've been using it is by, if you only have one provider, like Google or Facebook or whatever, then you could just let it, as soon as it hits your domain, Cloudflare just redirect to the auth provider directly rather than having to go to Cloudflare and then over to the provider that you choose. So that's kind of a nice touch with it. And it just kind of does it seamlessly just by flicking that one little switch there. I've created an agent harness that runs auto in the background, all Claude, and selects models based on complexity and failures. Bubble more performant models. Yeah, no, that's actually really cool to know. Okay, question for you. How long have you gotten the model to run so far, at least based on your experiments? Like an hour? Like longer than that? Obviously, there's a cost attached, but I'm just kind of curious how long you've gotten it to run. While I'm answering your question, I'm also answering your question, which is about this. Yeah, the OTP thing is actually pretty cool. It's kind of one of those sneaky little hidden features that most people don't really know about. There's a Cloudflare worker, so what it is. So take, for example, this app here, right? If I just hit it on this domain, just as an example, right? It'll just go directly there. So I go here and I do Cloudflare access, then showing my auth keys and JW key enabled, which is a whole lot of thing by itself. Obviously, I'm not going to keep this stuff up. But anyway, so if I do that and I just refresh it, bam, I'm behind the authentication wall already, and I could do an OTP thing. So that's like the fastest, easiest thing. So the way to get around that is you go to, oh, come on, Cloudflare here. So the way to go get around that is you have to go to, it's under security. It's under their zero trust. It's part of their zero trust platform. And then you have to go to access control applications. And then you see here, this is the application that I have here. So if you click into it, you can configure it. And then you could say login methods. See here, and you could, so this is, right now it only has this one, right? So because I only have this one, it's a Cloudflare thing. But if I choose to switch it over to, because I already set up these providers before, right? I have one for SnapSuite with Microsoft Azure AD. So here, if I uncheck this one, the OTP, right? I could use this instant auth. So I check that off. And then what it'll do is allow me to, whenever I refresh that page, so if I go back and I paste that URL, I press enter, it'll just skip. It should. Let's try that again. So I think it does take a little time, but let's see. So here, press on that. Okay, yeah, it does take a little second because it doesn't actually come off. But anyway, what it'll do is go straight to Azure. Like it'll just redirect me straight to Azure to do the authentication and then push it back. So that's actually a good feature. Obviously, it's not 100% secure because I haven't actually hooked up the backend to deal with the token validation and all that kind of stuff. But it's a way to get you a little bit of protection while you're messing around with things. So yeah, definitely check that out for sure. It's one of those little things that is free up to 50 users. So why not, right? So here, login methods, uncheck that, and then save. Yeah, and like I said, this one here will send you, where is it? Instant, yes, skip identity selection when available. So yeah, anyway, just thought I'd share that. Allow. So I don't want to, no, see what it's doing? It's now going to use NPM again, which is what I don't want it to do. Okay, whatever. We'll let it run NPM. It's annoying. Okay, so we have a schema. Let's see, we got salaries, freelance, income, rent, mortgage, utilities, groceries, dine out, insurance, batteries, okay, business expenses. Okay, we're gonna add some more to that category, so that's fine. Okay, so what does that mean? So let's see if it's actually working. Backend is success, income. Okay, so we got one request came in, connected to a database. Categories, we got 7 of them. Recurring rules, none. Transactions, perfect. Okay, so we got ourselves a curl, backend, frontend, PM error, DB, deployment successful, perfect. Can you update the GitHub Copilot instructions file? Make sure that we have all the latest instructions based on the database API, and then we'll also need to update the front end to ensure that it works properly. Oh, you know what? Okay, so I think it's already running and tested. Let's just double check. Can I pay attention to that? Localhost, new transaction, freelance, 2300, failed to fetch. So there's probably a CORS issue. Let's see. Okay, so we got a CORS issue. So what we'll do is we'll just get that fixed locally. Need to hop through, want to share. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Have yourself a wonderful day. And yeah, we'll connect soon for sure. So keep in touch. And I definitely want to hear a little more about your AI project for sure in the future. So I'll be here every Friday. I'm back on my regular schedule now. So 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. But thank you for jumping around. All right. We're going to get our task list update and everything. Okay. So where are we at? We did a Google Stitch design for our mobile app. We got all of this program with Google Stitch. Why Google Stitch? Because frankly, at this particular point, it's the best that I find that has a seamless transition from their stuff to Google AI Studio that can help with the building of the initial application. And it does a pretty good job. And optionally, you can get all of the HTML seamlessly. So that's one. We took that Google Stitch and then push it over into Google AI Studio. And where is it? Basically, we had it build this. From there, if we push it to GitHub, from GitHub, push it over to Cloudflare. From Cloudflare, we built out ourselves a backend, and now we're just basically just testing all the pieces. So deployed backend database. Okay, so let's do this now. For the front end, the front end sits at this location. Can you update it and also make sure that the core works for the API backend so that when I submit on the front end, it will work properly? All right, so we're going to figure out the whole Wrangler deploy. Now let's deploy the backend. Okay, so all we're doing here is just making sure that we get cores properly set up in between the front end and the back end. If you don't know what cores are, basically it's the limit. It's a restriction that the browser puts on allowing an API to call a backend. So the backend has to say, I am okay with this front end calling me. It's kind of a sort of a security thing. It's not real security, it's kind of fake security, because if you're not calling from the browser, you could call to the API at any given time. It's just that the browser is trying to restrict random pages from just calling it. So that's the reason why it exists. Okay, so let's wait on that to finish. Backend is deployed. Now let's deploy the front end. Front end is deployed. Of course, we need to disable the security, make sure everything's working first, and then we could talk about a few. Okay, so let's try and do this. Inspect. Put this below here. Let's go to network. Label an let's do an expense. Say dining out, $50. Save transaction, 201. Wow, okay, very good. So I don't think any of the numbers are moving or anything. Let's put 50,000. Let's see what happens. Some crazy number. Healthcare, sure. Okay, so it's doing something. I'm getting 201. So what we want to do is we want to just make sure that the database is actually saving our work. So let's go to our D1 forwardly, explore data, transactions, income, expenses, 50, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, perfect. Okay, so a couple things. We want to make sure that the application actually is like truly working. So it appears that the application is actually entering transactions correctly. However, the data, the graph, every single thing is still fake data. So I want to make sure that the entire thing is actually working with real data from the actual database, nothing else. Okay, so just to make sure that we're good. So we're getting 200 transactions, which is fantastic. That means our app is actually saving data, and we're actually seeing the data in our Cloudflare D1 database. So that's good also. So now what we're just making sure is that whenever we update this, all this stuff is working correctly. Gabriel, how are you doing, man? How are you doing? Happy New Year to you, sir. Welcome to 2026 first live stream. Thanks. Appreciate that. I appreciate that. Hopefully things are doing pretty okay in your neighborhood, despite all the crazy political stuff that I know is happening. Hopefully things are good for you. Well, you're in Brazil. You're not in. Your neighbor is Venezuela, so I know. As I mentioned, I have family in Guyana, which is currently being disputed with Venezuela. Long story. So yeah, but welcome. Happy to know that you're doing okay. Thanks for joining in. Thinking about new projects. Oh, what do you got in mind so far? Anything? Is this a moneymaker project this time, or is this just for fun project? Yeah, things are going crazy in Venezuela is an understatement. This is a non-political stream. YouTube is already keeping my views sort of like limited to, I don't know, I don't know how YouTube works, but first day I streamed, I got like 15, 20 people, and I noticed it just kind of keeps going. So we want to do everything in our powers to keep the YouTube gods happy. But I'm glad to know that you're okay. And what kind of projects are you working on? You got in mind? What are you thinking about? Curious. So what is this? All right, so let's see what we got here. I see the issue with malfound closing brackets. Okay, so I'll check the current state, the component, hooks to replace the mock data with real API calls. For my dad, I noticed that he's struggling in his real estate agency, and I'm thinking of building some financial rental management site. So is it like a property management app? Like so it can manage the different properties and keep track of like maintenance costs and all that kind of stuff? Is that what you're thinking? Or is it more like being able to kind of like figure out the list the properties to sell and which ones people are interested in and that kind of deal, like more on the sales side? Yeah, okay, interesting. I built an app like that years ago, decades ago, way before AI. The thing that you kind of have to think about, if it's a property management app, you end up with cases where you kind of have to, like there's the main property, and then you have the tenants, you have the challenges for each property, right? So you have to kind of think about, okay, for this building, right, here are let's call it problem categories. And the problems could come in like every month or something. Maybe even giving the tenants the ability to report problems. Not that you really want that, because then they just complain about every single thing because it's so easy, but it might be a thing. And then on the back end, you need some way to kind of triage those problems to figure out which ones are the most important ones to focus on. And if there's a condo board, you kind of want to think about the condo board part of it, or the management board that's dealing with like maintaining the upkeep of the buildings, etc. And then from there, you want to be able to ideally push the notification to some sort of company that you have in like a supplier list contractors basically that are doing the actual work, fixing stuff, etc. So there's a couple moving parts there. Sure, at least in the maintenance or property management side of things. And then you might want to do reminders for people, upkeep certain things on the property, etc. It's definitely a good app to build, and it's a huge market, by the way. So build this with the intention of selling it. Use your dad as a guinea pig. Use him as a first company, and then once you kind of get a handle on the app and you got some foundation, try to see if you could pitch it to other smaller rentals. Okay, let me see if I got any single thing going here. Can you deploy the front end so I could test things properly? Yeah, but at the start, don't think about doing integration with financial services, at least not at the start, right? Just focus on the core. If you are doing financial services, the big one out there right now is Plaid. I don't know if you're familiar with them, PLAID, but they pretty much enable, and it's been getting less and less harder to integrate, which is kind of a good thing. So before it was kind of like sitting behind a really big complex paywall, but now it's like pay as you go, request access type of deal. So that's a good thing. But if you're not familiar with them, check them out. They're pretty good for like developer focused integration. They're basically the Stripe of connecting to the banks. But I don't know if in your region if it'll work. It'll be interesting. Let me know if it does. Yeah, Plaid is pretty much any single thing in North America uses Plaid for integration, payments, banking, all that type of stuff. And like I said, they used to be very expensive, but it's not really that expensive anymore. Man, this thing is different. You know what? BetterAuth is very, from what I've seen and from the documentation and every single thing that I've read so far, it's a really good implementation and it's very, very good. Here, there's a problem with it though. And let me tell you this, the guy that is doing the BetterAuth implementation is very smart. I can't pronounce his name. He's from Ghana. But like you mentioned, he prefer OTP. There's a plug for OTP, really easy setup. I will send you the post to the community. Yeah, do that for sure. Actually, that would be great. I'm going to do a video specifically in the school community about it because it's a really good implementation. The only issue that I have with BetterAuth, why I wouldn't use it in production for any single thing right now, is because I know there's a whole backend services that's coming for BetterAuth. Right now, BetterAuth is focused on just capitalizing on building users. It's a proper business model. So all of the people that are like non-exposed to real in-depth security would gravitate to BetterAuth, especially for like pet projects, like that kind of stuff. It's just really, really solid. However, once you start getting to the enterprise level or larger security systems, it completely falls off because it doesn't have a lot of the back-end stuff that is needed. Mind you, they're working on it and they're building out pretty fast. But a lot of the monitoring and all that kind of stuff, they're going to build services around those things. And that's where the real payment is going to come into play. And they'll probably target enterprise. But for now, it's very solid implementation. So this is just talking from what I've read in the documentation. But yeah, drop that over in the community and I will definitely check it out for sure. I'm yet to post your video. I said I was going to do it over the holidays and I didn't. But I will. Our initial chat. Oh, succeeded. Now let's do... Okay, looks like we're stuck in La La Land here. The deployment is stuck. Yeah, okay. So I have to kill this. Can you try deploying the front end again? Okay, deployment is happening. There we go. All right. So let's refresh now. Let's see what happens. Can I do it this way? Inspect, network, enter. All right, so add a transaction, 888, save transaction. Gotta choose a category, pending, 201, got that. Okay, it's still showing me like dummy data on the dashboard. Let's see transactions. Okay. So it's definitely still showing me dummy data. I'm still seeing dummy data on my dashboard. Can you double check and fix every single thing? Make sure that all the transaction, all the pages are working correctly with live data from the API. All right, so all we're doing right now is just basically just trying to hook up the data to the backend. The backend is already working. It's already saving. We've already confirmed that. We got data going to the database, the Cloudflare D1. We're just trying to get the basics go in so that we can actually have actual data showing up on the backend and have a graph that's showing up with the thing. Now, actually, I just noticed one thing. Oh, there, we can put a date in here. I should get it to use shed CDN libraries for like the calendar and stuff like that, but okay, that's good. And then what I really wanted to do is I want to be able to just upload these categories are, okay, that's fine. Save transaction. Yeah, it has all the pieces. It's just that the front end is just not. Let me report for using later. Okay, so let me just see here. I'll check employee now. Live front-end dev, equal, and I found good. I can see the code's already being deployed correctly. Perfect. Good. Build completed. Now let me check in by variables. URL's fine. I see the deploy still showing dummy data. See forwardly was updated. Oh, okay. I got two different URLs. Is that what's going on? I got two different URLs. Let's just see. It's always one silly mistake that's basically causing the whole thing to burn. Yeah, there's two URLs. So we just got to decide on which one. Yeah, so we want to tell it to use this one. Interesting. Okay, we're using the wrong front end, so we just want to tell it to use. I only want you to use one front, not two. So don't use the front end with SnapSuite inside of it. In fact, delete that worker and only use this one. Okay, so let me try. Okay, let's just stop this and let me just tell it what to do here. And then we'll go from there. In either case, in about an hour and a half, we've pretty much built an entire application. We got an app deployed, database, backend. You can actually enter transactions. We're going to test it out live. And then we're going to use this because I actually want to use this as a real app between myself and my partner and then see where the bugs are and then fix it. Cloudflare worker. 4 minutes ago, deploying the front end. Do we have live data on a real application? Yes or no? It's very simple. Of course, it's using pages. I just realized that it's using pages as opposed to. Okay, so that's good. So let's add a expense. So 2026, tier down, income 6,000, total expense 234.8. So let's add an expense and let's see. Transportation, January, negative 290. So 200, negative 200. Doesn't make any sense. None of these numbers are moving. Let's see income. Let's say January 1st. Okay, total income did move up. Total expense doesn't seem to be moving. Savings and investment, not doing a single thing. 190,000. So if I do 4,000 as an expense, interesting. Okay, so it is showing the totals. 109. Did I get that right? So where did this 240,000 come from? Question. Yes, I got you. Healthcare 200 and you know what? What about if I did your test other DBs over Overdrive? Does it prefer if over? You mean Hyperdrive, right? That's what you're talking about. Cloudflare. This guy. I presume that's what you're talking about. This is on my radar to test. I haven't done any extensive testing with it, to be honest with you. And the truth is, I don't even know why I haven't. Other than, well, I kind of do. I kind of know why. It's because Hyperdrive. Yeah, okay. I figured that's what you're talking about. I haven't done it. Let me just be real with you and say I haven't done enough testing with it to say definitively whether the performance gains matter. Like, in other words, like if at scale, I can't talk about scale with this one here for sure, because I haven't done any kind of real testing with it at scale. But that's on my radar to actually spend some time on for sure, because I have a Postgres database. It's sitting in Azure. I'm doing more and more stuff on Cloudflare. I'm trying to do more stuff with Cloudflare Workers API. So it's kind of like the logical thing to do. The reason why I haven't really done it specifically on my projects is because most of my APIs are kind of predefined and already sitting in C# world and in Azure world already. And so they're already done. And so I'm just doing front end connecting to existing API backend, which works perfectly fine. So that's the only reason why I haven't done it. I will do some tests to kind of give some of my own definitive sort of take on it. So good question though, because it's one of those that I'm putting my list of things to see if I could tackle. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm just going to wipe the database so I can know for sure that this is working, because I know it's not working correctly, but I don't know what specifically is not working. So we're just going to wipe the database and we're just going to delete. Not doing any categories, just these two. Oh, I just do delete. Sorry. Okay. Oh, a semicolon. That's what we're missing. Okay, so let's just see it now, because it's hard to test it when it's like okay, so that's working. Okay, so I'm seeing savings and I'm seeing investments, which doesn't make any sense, but every single thing else seems to be fine. So let's just do it with simple numbers so we can make sure that things are working correctly. So we're going to do $100 input from salary, add. So we have 0.9 here. There we go. Okay, up 0.1. Good. Actually, let's do it this way. Why is it February? Oh, this monthly breakdown thing is kind of awkwardly set up. Is this past months or future months? I don't know. But okay, we'll get to that. Let's do another income of... Well, let's just, you know what? Let's just do another income, freelance, and let's just put it at 900. 900. Therefore, we're going to have 1,000. 1K. Perfect. Good. Now we're going to have an income. Perfect. Now we're going to have an expense of healthcare. $50. Let's do it 100 so we could keep track properly. Positive. Perfect. That's working too. So income. The filters aren't working. Okay, so let's keep track of what's not working. The filters, the category filters are not working. Okay, so that's one. I'm still seeing unallocated cash. which has nothing to do with the entire app. So we need to add schema in the database to be able to keep track of this unallocated app. Right now, it just seems to be dummy data. Same thing goes for the savings and investments. And let's make sure that, so it says 900, but this is net. So it's dipped, okay, but it's dipped from what? So let's put my expense higher than let's say my expenses are 1500. Let's see what happens there. So down by 0.6. So I'm down by 0.6. The total expense is, my expense is up by 1.6. My income is, why is this arrow showing down? Okay, in and out maybe. I'm in the minus here. For some reason, when I had $1,000 in my income and $100 on my expense, the monthly sort of like change was showing sort of like a negative change in red, which doesn't make any sense. Negative should only be if you're in a minus for that month. Also, the order of the months doesn't make any sense. If the month now is January, then go scroll, like the most recent month should be at the top. The months below that should be the months of the year for the current year. And then if we go left or right, then it should be for the previous year. Also currently negative $600 in the hole, and the graph doesn't indicate that there's actually I'm in the negative. It should clearly show that currently at my current trajectory based on the entire year, that I'm in negative. Because if I'm down $600, it should show me that I'm down $600. Okay, let's do that. Okay, interesting. We'll have to see how to deal with this. Really and truly, what I would like to do is be able to swipe through the different months. Okay, we'll have to think about that a little bit. You know what? We're going to try to see if we could do the whole receipt thing as well too, because I think we're almost here with this budgeting app. So we're going to try to do it. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, so we are just testing. Let's see where we are. Allow. Okay, so monthly action, create schema, endpoints, create schema, create endpoints for allocation, run deployment, connect to dashboard allocation API. I haven't actually, you know what? I just realized I haven't been checking in my code. Bad practice. Connect to allocated dashboard, fix monthly indicator logic, update graph to show negative balance. Yes, now also it doesn't show the income versus expense doesn't show me. I have no indication of like from January to December. So the graph should show me, or at least that would be the hope, that at least tells me the month. Okay, so we're almost there. Perfect. Every single thing has been implemented. So the only thing I need is this should show me January to December on the graph. For the cash flow graph, it needs to show January to December at the bottom. And the cash graph needs to show the January to December at the bottom. Yeah, let's do this. And then the cash flow graph needs to show January to December at the bottom. This way we can see an entire picture of the year, always, of the current year. And if you navigate to the previous year, it should show for the previous year, January to December. Okay, so I think that should be it. Let's refresh this and see. Yeah, so now it's showing me, yeah, and you know what, this red line, this blue line, it should not be a blue line, it should be a red line. So net versus income versus expense. Income is 1,000. Expense is 1,600. So which one is expense? The bottom one. No, net is, okay, net is negative. Expense. So what color should we do? We should do expense in red, right? Yeah, expense should be in red. So the net income was $1,000. 1,600 was the expense. I have no savings. I have no investment. I'm down by $600. So what happens if I do network and I press on the plus sign here? Okay, so the unallocated cash, if I press on the plus button, nothing happens. And the dip right now shows that I'm sitting in a minus balance of $600 for this month, which is true. So now if I add expenses and I say next month here and I do $500 add. So now I have January expenses. I have no way of like switching to the months, but that's fine. That should still get me something here. So now it's showing that I have another expense at 500. Income was at 0. And so my net is negative 500. So I'm down by 1,500. So that's correct. Unallocated cash. So I'm dipping January by, okay, interesting. Okay, so I added something for February. So I should be seeing that February in there. I did a test by adding another expense in the month of February, even though we're in the current month of January, and I don't see the February month showing up on the monthly breakdown. And currently I have no way to jump to the month of February. In other words, I need to be able to put in my expenses and put in my reoccurring expenses and be able to see that projected throughout the year and be able to check those months to see what my income or expense would look like for that month. Super simple app. We're going to try to publish this to the App Store. We're going to see what happens. We're going to do the receipt thing as well too. Okay, so we're almost there. So I see the issue. The dashboard is currently filtering out months when view in the current year. Let me fix it so that you can see all 12 months and access future months to view projected expenses occurring. Perfect. I've updated the dashboard to show all 12 months throughout the year, regardless of whether we're in the current month or viewing. Removing filter, showing all 12 months, handle missing data gracefully. Months without transaction will show zero income expenses. Months order and preference, yes. You can now add expense and income to any future months like February, March. Click on any to see those, even if you haven't. Okay, so that's great. Okay, and then what else was the other thing? All right, so let's make sure that, can you make the expense show in a red dotted line, a little bit more thicker? Also, I noticed that when I have unallocated cash, when I click on the plus button, nothing happens. I'm not certain what should be happening there. Oh, there is a batch mode thing too. That's cool. We'll do the scan receipts thing another day. But this is a pretty good start to our entire application from end to end, considering the fact that we just coded this out of thin air. And let's see what we got. Okay, we're just going to deploy front end, make sure every single thing is working. Can you deploy the front end and make sure that every single thing is working as expected? Oops. Okay, perfect. Doing great. Okay, deploying front end. Backend is working. So now let's refresh. There we go. 1,000. Total expense 2.1. We could see a red trending line of expenses. We could see that we have no income. We could see we're net in the negative. Overall, we're down by 1.1 thousand. Had to take a nap. Okay, we're just wrapping up. We got the entire app working, basically. The only thing I didn't do was the receipt part, but we'll talk about that in a sec. And I'm just testing, make sure that all the numbers are correct. So let me enter another number here. So I'm going to put another income of $1,000. 1, 2, 3. Put another income, and we're going to put that in the month of, let's call it April 15. And we're going to say that was from salary, sure. And click on add. So there we go. Okay, so we made $2,000 in income. Our expenses is 2.1. We're down by 0.1. Okay. Our expense at the starting of the year was pretty high. Our income was less. So we had a net of minus 600. However, we had an income in, oh, you know what? It's still missing the dates. Cloudflare for my hosting. Hey, how do we go for a landing page? So we're going to do for a landing page. Sorry, which landing page? So we're going to do for a landing page. Oh, you mean a landing page for this application? If that's what you're talking about, I definitely want to call with you because I really want to learn how to use Cloudflare for my hosting. Got you. Honestly, the best tutorial, I think it's the best tutorial, period, is my Cloudflare 101 because in here, so you don't have to worry about the first couple of parts, but I did break down like the different parts of Cloudflare, and it's 10 minutes video, but honestly, this 15 minutes video will get you there. And in this video, I went from buying a domain name, pointing it to Cloudflare, attaching a worker, and getting the real site live. And it wasn't like a fancy website. It was like literally, here, let me show you. So let me show you the website that I put up. There, that's it. That was the website. Like it was the most basic thing that you can do on Cloudflare. This is what I did just so I could show you how to do it properly. And then from there, we go into more details. And then how did I do this one here? What is Cloudflare Worker? Yeah. And then we talked a little bit about Cloudflare Worker, which goes a little more in depth so people could kind of understand it in sort of like basic terminology. And then from there, I did automated deployments. So yeah, these three should get you there like pretty, like if you just watch just these three, you don't even have to do this one here. You just watch these two, you should get there with the details. But I'm yet to post these on YouTube, by the way. I'm going to post them on YouTube as well, too. Yeah, so for landing page, it's a good question because I was supposed to do that. For this one here, it's just going to be a personal, you know what? Why don't we do it right now? Because these guys could do it. This could do it for me. Claude, I find Lovable to be pretty good with the landing pages. Lovable. So I'm going to say, create me a landing page for using my simple financial planner app, budgeting app. That's going to be the cheapest. Period. I'm going to do it at $1 per month and free for the first 30 days. Yes, that's what we're going to do. And it's going to be a landing page that basically helps you to get in the habit of tracking your expenses, use it. And then if you like it, then you pay $1 going forward per month for the app. Yeah, that's going to be the landing page. So anyway, build that for me. And it's called Affordly, AFORDLY.app. And it's going to be available in the Google and the Play Store. Sorry, the Google iOS and Android store. So there's that, and then I'm just putting that underneath it. That's going to be my landing page. We'll let it kind of cook in the background. But okay, so I think this is working. I got total income, got total expense. We got our investment savings, which I don't really know what that's for right now. That's disabled at this particular point because it's in zero. So in January, I had net 600 netting. In here, April, I had a positive 600. So let's just put half of that. Let's just say I had in April, I had a $500 expense. Keep the math simple. January, February, March, April. I had a entertainment expense for 500. Sure. Okay. So now we're seeing that our expenses kind of creeped up a little bit there. So we're down by 6 again. Perfect. So our income and expense is actually working very nicely. Overall for the year, total income, 2,000. Total expense, I know exactly where we're going to do the savings. We're going to do the investments. Actually, why don't we do the savings right now just so we can see if it's actually working. So we're going to put in a $2,000 and we're going to put it in freelance work. And then we're going to say that came in April. Now let's go into June or something. So there we go. So we had an expense. So now we're up by 1.6K for the year, which is fantastic. So what do we want to do now? We want to basically see if we can allocate some money to savings. So we're going to say we're going to put $400 in savings. So what I'm checking to do is see if this is going to load. Oh, it does load. And then I'm going to try to put, okay, so the savings work. Oh, interesting. So the the unallocated. Interesting. So there seemed to be some issue with the savings and the investment unallocated cash. When I added a surplus into my database in terms of income, I was able to click on the button right after. But if I refresh the page, I could see the number being 400 for my savings. I can't click on the button anymore for the investment or the savings. So we need to address that. Yeah. Okay. So this is good. I have 20 more minutes here. So the income is working. The insurance is working. Like the filters are working. They should be scrolling, but that's fine. Yeah. The only thing I can't do here is I can't navigate between the different months to see the different expenses. So we want to get that going for sure. We want to have some kind of arrow so we could kind of jump between different months. And yeah, we're going to try the receipt thing. We'll try to see if we can get this on. Because if we can actually get this in entire package, then what we can do is on the next video, I might try to wrap this up and see if I could package this as a mobile app, ship it to the actual app store, and then we do some promotion and see what happens, right? If you use it for more than 30 days, you pay $1 for going forward. Let's see what happens. Super simple, super basic. It's called Affordly. I think it'll work. Okay, so what did you fix? Fix the issue with saving when you refresh the page allocation, like 400 saying we're loaded from the database, but the buttons became disabled even though they had surplus income. This happens because the component are like, okay, got you. Okay, so you got that fixed. The other thing is I can't see I need to see January, February, March, April, all the way down to December for the graph at the bottom. So I could kind of figure out which months I'm high and which months I'm, keep in mind that it has to work on mobile as well too. Yeah, so we're going to do the AI section. We'll do that for next week. I'm going to do the receipt section next week, and we're just going to focus on AI because we haven't really done a lot of AI stuff. I think it would be a fantastic piece of implementation to snap a receipt, have it go over to AI, read the values, extract the date and the time and all the different stuff, put it in and add it as an item, and then put a link to that item in the receipt. All right. And then the more important thing is to be able to snap a receipt of your entire page of credit card transactions and just have it just automatically categorize it, which is a real big pain. Yeah. I think this is a good progress. Did I get that fixed? Okay, so review. Okay, so why is it starting from, interesting. For some reason, it seems to be starting from February to December. It should show January as well. Also keep in mind that it has to be able to be mobile friendly also. So not certain how you need to deal with that, but we need to think about that. Okay, that's doing it good. So the only thing that's missing is really yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that's actually further than I was thinking that it'd need 6 more to allocate. Right, so we should be sort of a target. Okay, we could get to that. We could get more complex, obviously, with the layering of the details. But I think that's a good place to end, I think, because I have all the details. I have all the basics, and I'm going to get a user to actually test it, aka my wife. Cool. Let's see. Added margins, left, right, and 0. Clean out layout. Is there anything else I'm missing? Oh, reoccurring. We never did reoccurring. How do we enter reoccurring? I don't see a way to enter any reoccurring bills. For example, I have a credit card. I have a light bill that I pay every single month for the next foreseeable future to have it automatically show up on the graph, and also to see a list of all those reoccurring payments. So we could edit them in the event that they change in the future. We could edit from the date going forward. Oh, is that phase 2? Okay, fine. That's a phase 2 thing. I think it says phase 2 in it. And while that's happening, let's look at the landing. Oh, look at this. Affordly. Track every dollar with just $1. It's pretty good. Build the habit of tracking your expenses with the simplest financial planner ever made. See your full year P&L at a glance. Income, expense, net profit. Everything you need, nothing you don't. The marketing is actually pretty good. Let's say that it's ideal for people that are not good with financial planning and don't like to do all of this spreadsheet stuff, but still need to be able to stay on top of their expenses with simple, easy to use tools. Oh, reach my limit. Okay, we'll have to upgrade to get this. Maybe I will. I don't know as yet. We'll see. Okay. Either way, this is good. We're gonna push this over to thing, and then we're gonna try to launch this thing too. So next week we'll try to tackle that. All right. So the reoccurring thing is being done. Yeah. You know what? So we're just gonna kind of close things off. I think we did a pretty good job. In fact, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's connect to Git. Connect project. Dwayne Brown. Transfer. Affordly planner. Sure. We could change that. Yeah, and then from Cloudflare, we're going to do Cloudflare. Let's launch our create a node database. We're going to go here, connect with GitHub. There we go. Deploy. We're going to run into a build error here, and we're just going to get that sorted out. That's not a problem. Connect to project. Perfect. Good. So that's been done. Okay, so let's see what it's doing here. I'll help you add a recurring builds functionality. Let me first check what's already implemented in the backend, frontend. Let me continue reading. Let me think. Complete API backend recurrent. Connect to D1, add a recurring endpoints with 10 client, create a recurring rule, components, list add functionality, add navigation to access recurring rules, include recurring rules to P&L calculations. Okay, success. Stream to Instagram, stop. This could be because the maximum thing continue without Instagram. That's fine. Refresh. How do you enter a new transaction? I don't see any way on the home page to get to the recurring page or to be able to add recurring bills, unless I'm missing if the deployment was made. Okay, so what are we missing here? There we go. Add transaction, recurring bills. Add your first bill. So let's say cable, because we all know cable is expenses. $100 monthly, utilities, starting from January, and optional. Okay, so I was able to successfully add a recurring expense. However, I don't see it showing up on the chart or anywhere on any of the months of net negatives, right? Let's put it as 200. Let's put it as phone internet. Start January 2006. There we go. I'll investigate why the recurring expenses aren't showing up in the calculations. Let me double check on the issue. Use financial hook only. Just but not fetching project. See the issue, use financial hook only fetches transaction but doesn't fetch recurring project. The monthly calculation, I need to update the hook. Now I need to also use monthly transaction to hook to include the, yes. Now let me update the monthly transactions, perfect. Okay, perfect. Why do I have less thumbs up? What's going on here? Okay, considering the progress, I think this is good. Expenses hovering around 200.
Dwayne, here's your reminder.
Computer,
start workout.
Stop. So that means, and then down by 2,000 because my expenses are 6,000 for the year. Perfect. Okay. Now the only thing I want to do is I want to be able to, if I'm viewing my expenses for the month where I could see the list of transactions, I want to be able to jump to any month. So either should be some kind of pill that we could kind of jump to the month, or some kind of right and left arrow so that we could keep skipping until we get to the month for the current year that we're in. All right, that's a wrap for me. I appreciate all the time, energy, and effort. If you got some value from this video, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. Give me a thumbs up. Ask any questions in the comments. It's been a pleasure. As always, thank you for the people that joined the live stream. Really means a lot. I appreciate the questions. I know you guys can't stick around for the full length of time that I'm on this live stream, but that's okay. I appreciate you even jumping in, saying hi, bouncing back out, doing whatever you're doing. So with that, have yourself a wonderful day, and I'll see you in another video.